huge result for Manchester United right at the start of this group in the UEFA Champions League. Marcus Rashford with the late goal coming in the 87th minute. He scored that infamous penalty in March 2019 down the same end of the stadium at the Parc des Princes. There's the results from Group H tonight. Manchester United win in Paris. Leipzig have won at home against Istanbul Başakşehir. Next week, Manchester United welcome RB Leipzig to Old Trafford, and PSG have to go to Istanbul. Very significant result for Manchester United. This is, as you can see, it's a very, very tough group. Both of you beforehand, Lisa, were dismissive of Manchester United's chances. So where did that come from tonight, that victory?
I think it came from a really stellar and an unforeseen performance from Tuanzebe, first of all. But secondly, in fairness to Solskjaer, I actually think tactically he got it really right. I think by reverting to having the wing backs and the three at the back, he really negated the influence that Florenzini and that Kurzawa were able to have. And they've been key attacking areas that in the League One games that PSG have played so far. Those, from the left back and the right back areas were key areas of attack, and I think they really did their homework. They really negated that area for them, and then with the numbers in, they were so compact, so connected the whole time. They really closed down that space and made it really difficult for PSG to connect. But I thought Wan-Bissaka and Tuanzebe were really, really good because they were targeted in the game, particularly at the start of the second half, but they did really well, so credit where it's due.
Because the way the second half started, Richie, like PSG really went at Manchester United and had them in all sorts of difficulty for a period of time.
And and that period, I think, stuck out in that PSG performance. They were so disappointing, particularly in that first half. And we can talk about the players that are missing from their side, but those players, particularly in midfield, weren't offering too much going forward. And up front, you think of the three players and what they can do. I don't want to be totally dismissive of how United played at the back, because there were key performances from Tuanzebe was excellent. Wan-Bissaka, I think at times, a couple of really key blocks. David De Gea in goal was superb tonight. But PSG were very, very disappointing. It was a fair result. PSG were deservedly beaten. OK, let's look at the winning goal from Rashford, scoring in Paris again. This was 3 minutes from the end. Talk us through this. A fabulous goal.
Yeah, it was a great goal. And, I mean, there weren't too many moments of brilliance in this game, but this was the moment of the game for me. He gets it on the turn, shifts it, and it's a great finish. He picks his spot perfectly. Clever little through ball to him from Pogba. He continues his run to occupy the centre-back on the inside, and it's a really good finish. He doesn't even look up. He knows exactly where he's putting the ball, and he strikes it really cleanly, and it was a really good goal, and it was well deserved. And
I just want to ask you, Lisa, about Pogba, because it was a big call from Solskjaer to leave him out. Now, on another night, maybe the guy could come on and not been at his best, maybe sulked a bit. What difference did he make this evening when he came on after, 50-odd minutes?
I think he plays a different role. I think McTominay and Fred had to be really compact, because their job was to screen the three centre-backs and to make sure that the balls couldn't get in to Neymar and Mbappe in those key areas. So I think his role when he came on was an attacking role, and he actually played a little bit more on the left when he came on. That seemed to be the area that he was trying to target, and on that particular one he could inside. But he does give them a little bit more of an attacking dimension, and I think from Solskjaer's point of view, he set up not to concede and to be in the game, and then he went for a little bit more once they got beyond the hour mark.
Here's the equaliser. This was the Martial own goal. Richie, this is yours.
At this stage of the game, they deservedly pulled level, because it was a spell before this where United were really penned in. They couldn't get out, and it was really good intricate passing on the left-hand side and the right-hand side by PSG. It's a really good delivery, and Martial just gets timing of his jump, his body position, everything is wrong. He ends up heading it into his own goal, but a deserved equaliser at that time. And you just hoped, I thought at this point, I don't know, maybe if that stadium was full, maybe if there was tens of thousands of people there in the crowd, they would have just lifted PSG and demanded them to continue with that intensity and the purpose that they came out of the dressing room with in the second half. But they didn't. They just kind of allowed United back into the game and were deservedly beaten.
OK, we've spoken about Tuanzebe and how well he played, Wan-Bissaka and the blocks. De Gea is interesting because of all the pressure that the guy is under, because Henderson is back at the club. Some thought that he would actually even start tonight. But De Gea, in the off-season, and there wasn't much of that, went back to Spain to work with a coach he'd worked with at youth level, to try and restore his confidence, because his confidence at times has been on the floor. What about him tonight?
Yeah, I thought tonight he was really good, and I think he did exactly that tonight. He got back to basics. I don't think these saves were worldy saves, but they were certainly good saves that you would expect a goalkeeper of his calibre to make. But he still has to make them, and at times, I mean, he makes himself so big there just to deny Kurzawa. This corner comes from the previous shot after he saved from Di Maria. And again, you see Mbappe here, cuts inside. He's on his feet and he's able to just get across. And again, it's probably a save he should be making, but he still has to make it. And again, stands tall. And he's able to deliver. And I just think, you know, for the pressure that he's been under in a game like this, these are the types of games that he was making mistakes, and he was making big mistakes. And like you said, he went back to Spain, maybe went back to get basics a little bit. For me, they're not world-class saves, but they're still good saves, and they're still saves that had to be made. And bear in mind, the first two of those saves actually came before the United goal. So when PSG started the game actually quite well, he still made those saves to keep United on a clean sheet and gave them the platform then to get themselves into the game.
We're just briefly going to have a look at a couple of the other Manchester United chances that they created in the second half. Richie, do you want to talk us through these?
I mean, there wasn't much in the second half beyond, I think Pogba came on with 25 minutes or so to go, and then in the 70th minute and the 80th minute there was a couple of shots from distance here from Rashford. Again, this is not too dissimilar from the way in which he ended up scoring the goal, getting the ball outside the edge of the box. PSG defenders backing off and allowing time to shoot. Don't know why Fernandes doesn't have a go there. He's one-on-one at that stage. You can see what he's trying to do. You can see a teammate in the back stick. But for me, you've got to take a first-time shot at the goal there, but didn't count in the end. They got the win.
We began tonight talking about Solskjaer being under pressure. We did reference Tuchel. Now he's had a very public falling out with the sporting director Leonardo, who reportedly is a friend of Pochettino's. This is a bad result for him at the start of this. OK, they've 5 games to fix it, but they were expected, you both expected them to win this quite comfortably.
Yeah, and they didn't have a very good start to the season. You know, they were missing players due to COVID-19. They've had a lot of injuries. He came out publicly and was critical of the club for their lack of activity during this last transfer window. And he's shown frustration. And I think what's interesting is, you know, Pochettino is lurking in the background, and Leonardo came out publicly, and he doesn't usually do it, but he actually came out publicly and he rapped the knuckles of Tuchel a couple of weeks ago, just before the international break, saying if he's not happy, he can go somewhere else. And I just think, you know, he's probably under more pressure now, and it'll be interesting to see, because he's got big games coming as well. Well, maybe the pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has eased a little tonight. They still have 5 games coming up in a very frantic period, but they've won this evening. We're out of time for tonight. My thanks to Lisa and Richie for joining me here in studio.